when you don't know what you want to be when you grow up, because when I was in high school, I had no clue about what I wanted to be when I grew up. So I'll go from there. So I'm here because somebody found me probably on the interwebs somewhere. And I'm in Raleigh, but thought I had something interesting to share with you. I very much like my jobs, and I would like you guys, when you finish with your schooling, if you do, some people don't, I want you to like your jobs too. And I wrote a book. So I think that's one reason I'm here. Somebody saw that I had written a book. So I think that's why I'm here. That, at least that's my guess. And what I was asked to talk about is the work that I do, how I got to where I am, and what I learned along the way. So I'm going to kind of mix those two lists up together, and we'll see what we come out with. And at the end, we'll do some science stuff, because that's what I like to do. So when I was in high school, when I was your age, I really wanted to be an astronaut. This is Sally Ride. She was the first woman to go up into space. And I was in 5th grade when she went up into space. And then I was in 7th grade when the Challenger exploded, which was awful. And I thought, well, I'd really like to work for NASA, but maybe not go up on a spaceship. So I was really interested in math and science, even in high school, and thought I wanted to work for NASA. So that's kind of where I started. And then I went to Carolina, which was great because as a liberal arts school, they don't just have math and science, they have everything. So it gave me a chance to explore other areas as well. So when I was in high school, and most of college too, there was no internet, there were no cell phones, there was no YouTube or TikTok, Instagram or Snapchat, none of that. And I'm not saying this just to prove how old I am. You'll see in a minute. What there was when I was in high school was 3-way calling, which was awesome because you could talk to more than one person at the same time. There were cassette tapes, everybody's making mixtapes for each other, not even CDs yet. That was college. Magazines were huge, and people would get magazines and they would trade magazines and tear out pictures and tape them on the walls. And cable TV. MTV was like where you got your news pretty much in high school. All of these things are like gone now, like totally obsolete, right? Nobody uses 3-way callings or cassette tapes. I don't know if they're going to come back like records did, but magazines, cable, your stuff that you guys have now, I can't figure out how to go back. It's not going to be around in another 5-8 years. It's going to be gone. It's going to be totally different stuff. And so my point, one of the things that I do is I design and maintain websites. There were no websites when I was your age. What you're going to do when you grow up does not exist. Like you can't even imagine what it was. I couldn't imagine the internet. I mean, before the internet, nobody could imagine where we are right now. So things are going to change. So what can you do about it? Let's see. There you go. First, find out what you like what you really like. And then I start getting the Spice Girls in my head. Like what you're really interested in. And it doesn't have to be anything huge. It could be baking bread, playing basketball, or I don't know, growing plants. Just something that you really like doing. And then get really good at it. Whoops, that's how I go to the next slide. There we go. Get really good at it. So like, if something you really like, then really dig deep into it. Learn as much as you can about it. Do it as much as you can. Find ways to share it with other people. So if you really like baking bread, maybe get a booth at a farmer's market and sell your bread, or give it to a food bank or something to share with other people. Or if you really like to play basketball, obviously, try out for teams. Get good at what you're doing, do it well, share it with other people. And then finally, take advantage of opportunities. If there are competitions related to what you're good at and you really like to do, enter them, try it. If you get the opportunity to travel for whatever reason, take it. Don't be nervous about what could go wrong. Take advantage of those opportunities, and not necessarily the opportunity itself might be awesome, but odds are it will lead to other things, and it will take you down a path that you couldn't even imagine. So that's the last one is really, I think, the most important one. If you have an opportunity, you need to take advantage of it. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about how that played out in my story. So I went to Carolina. I was going to major in math. Math was boring. Oh, yep, there goes my phone. Sorry. There we go. Math was boring, so I switched to physics, which is basically applying math to other stuff. And I had an advisor who told me girls didn't do good in math and physics, which immediately made me want to major in physics and take more physics classes to prove him wrong. But I got to my senior year and I did some summer internships that were, I got to do an internship at NASA. So I was really excited because that was one of the things I wanted to do was work at NASA. And the internship was with lasers, and I basically was spending all day in dark rooms with computers and a bunch of really old guys. And it was really just not something that I liked anymore. It wasn't that first item anymore. That part of physics, the research part, just wasn't getting me excited. And things have changed a lot since then. When I was in college, there was one woman faculty member in physics, and now I was just looking at it, it's like it's like 40-60 now. It's getting a lot better. So that has changed, but I just wasn't happy. So I took advantage of other opportunities to do different things, and I kind of took my science and steered it into education, but I kept the physics. I was one of when I graduated from college, I took a 5-year plan. You know, you got to take advantage of those. You know, if it takes a little bit longer, it's nothing wrong with that. I graduated with a Bachelor of Science, a BS in physics, but also a teaching certificate. And I was one of 7 teachers in the state who actually had a degree in physics. Which was great because then I kind of had my pick of jobs. I taught physics for a few years. Opportunity came up to work at NC State doing science outreach. So basically all the fun parts of teaching without the grading and the parents and all the things that maybe aren't so fun. And same for the kids. You get to do science, the fun stuff, but you don't necessarily have homework and tests. So I really liked that idea, the fun part of learning science. I did that for a while, got a chance to move to Asheville and do it there. And when I was in Asheville, a friend of mine was helping a publisher write some books. They were paying teachers $50 per science project to write projects for a collection of science fair projects. And so I was like, yeah, sure, I can write 10 projects. That's $500. Why not? I hate to write. I do not like to write. But writing instructions for a science experiment is totally different from like writing a short story. So I could do that. And I did the 10 projects. And then they said, would you like to do a whole book? Taking advantage of opportunities. I did not want to write a whole book, but when else am I going to have the chance to have my name on a published book? I'm in the Library of Congress now. It's kind of cool. So I took advantage of that opportunity, ended up writing 7 books. And then along that path, I met some folks at UNC TV. And so now I'm working for them, writing science curriculum, writing lessons using their videos and things that they have on their website. For middle school teachers. So each opportunity I took advantage of led to another opportunity. I quit another, my job isn't like a job. I do contract work. So I work for myself. I can pick projects that I want to work on and quit projects when they get boring or they're not fun anymore. Before the pandemic, I had the funnest job ever. I led STEM field trips at a roller skating rink. So I don't know if any of y'all went to Daniels Middle School, because we had all the Daniels kids would come through the rink. It was on United Skates of America. So if you did a science field trip there, then you probably had me. And that was super fun too. But now, things change. Pandemic really sucks. But on the other hand, it has opened up a lot of opportunities. So it's a matter of how you look at things. Being stuck at home and all that kind of thing can be a problem. But for example, my son plays the banjo. He's learning how to play the banjo. But because of the pandemic, his favorite musicians are stuck at home and they're offering lessons online. So he's able to take music lessons from the musicians that he's been following on YouTube and whatnot. He's able to take one-on-one lessons with them, which would never have happened if it weren't for the pandemic. So you got to always take advantage of those opportunities. Okay, so let's move on from that. So like I said, the books. I got a chance to write a book. I think that's probably why Regine emailed me to see if I would talk to you. So I'll talk a little bit about the book that just came out, which is 365 Build It Yourself Engineering Projects. Um, I started out writing a different book. um, the I wrote before this. I wrote 365. What is it? Weird and Wonderful Science Experiments. There are dozens and dozens of 365 science experiment books out there. Nobody in their right mind wants to write a 365 anything book. I mean, why? It's so many different things and it's so long and it's really hard to come up with that many ideas. But an editor that I had written for before contacted me with a new company and said they really want this book. And I thought, well, it's a foot in the door. It's an opportunity that after I write this book, I might get to write books that I want to write. So I wrote 365 Science. It was great. It was a good experience. I was glad when it was over though. And that book came out 4 years ago. But at the end of that book, I was thinking, one thing there's not is an equivalent for engineering, because y'all know STEM, this science, technology, engineering, and math, which was in the title. So hopefully y'all know what that is before you got here. Everybody talks about it. And I went to the library, went to bookstores, looked at engineering books, and they're all IKEA manuals. They're all how to put things together to make something. That is not engineering. Engineering is using what you know, using tools to solve a problem. Science is answering a question. Engineering is solving problems. Sometimes you need to answer a question before you can solve your problem. Sometimes you got to solve a problem before you can answer your question. That's how the science and the engineering go together. But there was nothing for engineering. There weren't 365 problems for kids to solve. So I decided that was what I wanted to write next. I asked my editor if I could write that book. It took me several months to convince them that engineering was different from science. Science projects usually have a step-by-step, like pour this water in this cup and then add this and then put it in the microwave for 3 minutes and then see what happens. That's, something like that. So step-by-step. Engineering's different. This is the problem. Here's some things you might want to know about it. How are you going to solve it? How are you getting, this is, how easy, simplest project is what's the tallest tower you can build with 20 cups, right? There's no one answer. You could build a really tall tower lots of different ways. You could do the pyramid, you could do cups up and then upside down and on top of each other. There's lots of different ways to solve that problem. Science, there's lots of different ways to answer that question, but that particular way to get to the answer is kind of set. Engineering's a little more fluid than science sometimes. I had a hard time convincing the editors that that was a book worth writing. It took 3 years from finishing the book to it actually getting published at Costco. It's a whole other story I'm not even going to bother with. But so it's only available at Costco. I'm not super excited about that, but I'm very excited that it's out in the world because it's the first of its kind. It's the only book of its kind. It exists. It's out there, which is better than it not being out there and all that work being for nothing. So I'm really happy about that. So that's kind of the stuff that Regine and the Wells folks wanted me to talk about. So I'm going to talk about some other stuff. Oh, these are the other books that I've written. But all of them except for the engineering book and the one in the upper right, the science book, are out of print right now. You can get old copies on Amazon, but those are the ones that are still in print. But some fun science stuff that I learned on the way. Bowling balls float. I bet you didn't know that. So the red ball is 16 pounds and the purple and yellow one is 8 pounds. So think about, like, I'm sure at some point in your life you've grabbed a gallon of milk or a gallon of water and it weighs more than 8 pounds, not a lot more than 8 pounds, but a little bit more than 8 pounds. And it's about the same size as a bowling ball. All bowling balls are exactly the same size. But if you've been bowling, they don't weigh the same. You've got 6-pound bowling balls and you can have like 16-pound bowling balls, but they're the same size, which means they have to be different densities. So the 8-pound, the yellow and purple one, is a little bit less dense than water. And the 16-pound ball is more dense than water, so it sinks. So, if you have a couple bowling balls laying around, you can try that at home. The easier way to do this is with oranges and lemons. You can do them with the peel and without the peel. Limes, usually sink because their peel is really thin. They don't have that much of a life jacket on them. So it's something you can play with. And then engineering fun. These are called automatons. And this little video, I don't know if it'll play. It's only like 10 seconds long. This was taken at the History Museum. Have you been in the History Museum? They have this map of North Carolina with all these little toys at different areas. So there's like the train part in the eastern part of the state. And these are automatons. So if you look at the bottom, you can see these little kind of, they're like gears, but they're smooth and they roll against each other and they make the wheels in the train go up and down and the smoke go up and down and the little guys walk back and forth. They're super easy to make with cardboard. So I have a kind of a picture of a simple one. So when you do this, it makes the little alien guy spin around. And then you can make, this is not a circle, but more of an oblong. It'll make it go up and down. So you can make things like this at home really easy. And you can put multiple gears in there, like with the train. So you can have more than one thing going on in your little automaton. So that's that's in the book, but it's an easy project that looks really, I think is kind of cool. I spent about a month totally addicted to these, making lots of them, but I gave all mine away at my last workshop. That's the thing. If I was doing this in person, we'd be building stuff together. We'd be doing something, but that's okay. And I don't know where we are for time. Oh, good. I've got time. So I have a couple other, I'm going to stop sharing so you can see me. All right. So I want to show you a couple other fun and easy science experiments. So a potato and a straw. So anybody think they could stick a straw through a potato? I don't think you could get a potato through the straw. So most people take it and they jab it into the potato and it might go in, it might break the skin, but it doesn't go through. So I'm going to teach you the secret. You can amaze your friends. Sticking a straw all the way through a potato. It'll come out the other side. Not all the way through, but it'll come out the other side. So the secret is to put your thumb over the end of the straw. When you put your thumb over the end of the straw, the air gets squished in the straw and it makes the straw stronger so it can go through. Also, safety tip, do not hold your potato like this or you have a hole through your hand also, and you don't want that. So hold your thing at the bottom and the straw goes through the potato. But if you don't put your thumb over it, the straw will just break in half and it won't even, it'll just barely puncture the skin. So that's one thing you learn. Another fun thing to do is to put stuff in balloons. So I have a balloon. That's not the balloon I want to start with. Where's the balloon I want to start with? Not that one, this one, the blue one. Okay, so there's a balloon and there's something in it. You probably can't see. It's a hex nut. So I took a hex nut just in case people don't know what a hex nut looks like. It's got 6 sides, like a hexagon. And when you put it in a balloon and you twirl it around in the balloon, it makes a sound. That's kind of cool. I like doing this at the roller rink. And different, as long as it has corners, I'll put that down so it's quiet. As long as it has corners, it's going to make a sound. So if you put a penny in or a marble, no sound because it just rolls smoothly. But if you've got the corners, as the hex nut spins, it's going to, each time it goes over a corner, it's going to hit the side of the balloon, makes the balloon vibrate. In 2nd grade, you learned that vibrations are sound. So anything that vibrates is going to make a sound. So I've got some other things I put in there. This one has, let's see the orange one. This one has a Lego, like a square Lego. So the hex nut, you'll hear how they sound different. So that one had a lower pitch because the sides were further apart. So the wavelength is longer, which is a lower pitch. And then the last one I have is a bottle cap, not a soda bottle cap, but like off of a glass bottle, the metal ones. So their corners are like really, really close together. So it's like a super high pitch. It's not as loud though. So that's the thing, is the shape and the distance between them. So if you wanted to do a cool physics project, you could investigate that and measure the pitch and measure how far away the things are. So that could be a 2nd grade thing. It could be a high school thing. You never know. And then the last thing I have to show you, which I love doing this. So hopefully y'all know what Operation is, like the board game where you try to take the little guy's body parts out without touching the sides and making the buzzer go off. So this is a similar game. It's called a steady hand game. I used a coat hanger. I had to take some sandpaper there's like a plastic coating on it. I had to take that off. So there's a coat hanger, and then I took the hook part of the coat hanger, made a round thing. And the steady hand game is you put this thing around here. There we go. And you're trying to get it around the shape without touching the edge, because when you touch the edge, it makes the buzzer go off. And it's super easy to engineer, to put together. So I'm going to take this apart so you can see. So I just bent up the coat hanger and I stuck it in the lid of my plastic thing. And I attached a wire to one end. And hopefully, oops, okay. Let me not touch the things. Okay. In 5th grade, you learned electric circuits need to have a loop for the current to go through, for the light to light up, or in this case, the buzzer to go off. I like buzzers because when you're in school, you can only use lights because otherwise it'd be really noisy in the classroom. So in field trips and whatnot, I like to use buzzers. So I've got a battery that is connected to, this is the buzzer, which is connected to the loop. And the other end of the battery is connected to the shape from the coat hanger. And so when they touch, it connects the loop and it makes the buzzer go off. So it's really easy science, but it makes a cool toy for, for kids to play with. So, and when I do this, I've done this activity at the roller rink too. And then the kids bend the wire into really crazy shapes, and it's hard to do. And we'll have contests to see who can do it the fastest and whatnot. But I love my job because I love sharing fun science and engineering stuff with other people. And sometimes it drives my husband crazy because we'll be having dinner with friends and I'll say, hey, did you know you can do this? And I'll take the fork on the cup and whatever. But find what you really like, get good at it, and share it with other people. Take advantage of opportunities. That's my message. Thank you.